The Falcon Azenis RT660 is the enthusiast choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falcon Azenis RT660.
My name is Farouk Kouaim.
Hey, I'm Justin Pollock.
What's up? I'm Jeff Jones. Hey guys, Dylan Hughes, Formula Drift Pro 1 driver, and I drive Link.
I drive Link.
I drive Link.
I drive Link.
What's up, everyone? We're pumped to announce Ford's Drift to Dirt Sweepstakes, where you can win your choice of a newly redesigned 2021 F-150 Raptor featuring Fox shocks with live valve technology, 5-link rear suspension, and Recaro seats.
Or you can win a 2021 Ford Mustang GT convertible, which you can shred the tires with 460 horsepower and 6 styling.
All you have to do is head to drifttodirt.com and enter to win.
NGK makes ignition coils. Why? Because we prefer a running partner that can keep pace. We know ignition, and since our spark plugs don't run alone, we put some of our energy and expertise into making better coils. NGK ignition coils are engineered to OE durability and performance. And because we race to win, we improve the design, testing, and validation of our coils for better performance. NGK spark plugs and coils, better together.
Believers all screaming, need something fast to outrun the demons. Nothing come between the boy and his freedom. What good are rights when y'all don't even read them? The legend never die, you get reborn.
Welcome to a little bit of a damp, Erie. We are at Lake Erie Speedway. We are deeming this Borderlands, round 4 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. I'm Jared Deanna. I'm joined here once again by my co-host and great friend, Ryan Sage. Ryan, little wet today, but I'm hoping and I'm seeing on the forecast that we're going to be dry tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow looks like a great day, but we're used to the wet, aren't we? We just came out of another wet event just a few weeks ago at a brand new track out there at Englishtown, and drivers are used to it. We're used to it. We don't love it, but we got to deal with it. Tomorrow looks like it's going to be a beautiful day and dry, but we've got to get qualifying done as now we are approaching that halfway point in the season.
And I got to tell you, this is our first time ever coming to this track, a brand new venue for us. The venue has been really great, really hospitable, and I'll tell you what, the condition of the actual track, the actual surface is very nice. Here's a look at our season schedule as you talk about our halfway point. You can see Odi Bakshi's got that first win at round 1, Chelsea Nudofa in Orlando, and most recently, just a few weeks away or ago, Matt Field celebrated by jumping off the podium and slamming that champagne bottle down, and he gets that win with Chris Forsberg getting second, Frederick Osbo getting third, so that means Matt Field leads the points coming in. But like I said, looking at this surface here, it drains really well. I was talking to Jim Lau during the break in between all the practice session. So what I think that means, what I'm seeing is it's very consistent. You know, from the bank down to the, you could see, it seems, because like, if you can recall, looking back at E-Town, our previous event, the surface has changed a lot. Here it seems very consistent. What are you looking at?
Yeah, there is consistency in terms of whether or not there's, you know, bumps or dips in the track, but in that center section is brand new pavement, and that pavement is much slicker than some of the pavement that's been around for a while, and there's much less rubber on it. So drivers are definitely going to have to navigate carefully when they come down off the bank onto that new pavement. This pavement is maybe a month old. We were here when they had just finished paving it. when we were here for a site inspection. So that will be a challenging part of the course in general, but you can get a little bit more insight to how the judges have kind of laid this out. It is Irwindale-esque in some ways. A big, long, sweeping left-hand full zone bank coming down into another outside zone. And this will be a theme that you'll see on this track, is that there are no inside clips on this zone. And that is kind of something that we've been adopting from people like Robbie Nishida, who are kind of against inside clips because they believe that outside zones provide better overall tandem. And
just a better flow overall.
Better flow and better overall tandem, and that's what we're looking to do. And we've made a number of changes that we think are trying to contribute to that idea of a better show for fans overall.
And that was a nice little preview of the course there, courtesy of Torque Drift. If you haven't downloaded it yet, Adam LZ's new 2021 S15 livery and the sticker pack has landed at Torque Drift. So go ahead and download for free on iOS, Android, and PC, and download the Lake Erie track for yourself in the game. So again, you can see all our media getting set, getting prepared, getting the track ready for our qualifying. Also, it does need to be noted that this is a singular pro round. We don't have Pro Spec joining us here, so kind of, I don't say a little bit of a breather, but it's a marathon, man. Those Pro and Pro Spec doubleheader weekends, it's a lot of drifting, a lot of driving. I know the fans love it, but it's tiring, man. It's exhausting just for us talking about it. But here are the drivers that have done the most work or accumulated the most points. Our season standings: Matt Field leads the pack, the Beast from the Bay, and you got the frenemies 1 and 2. Odie Bakshi's another strong beginning to a season. Can he finish? Can he put it over the top? Frederick Osbo singing third, not too far behind. And then you got 4, 5, and 6. And then walk us through it. Taguchi, Turk.
Yeah, and seeing the rest of the top 10, you can tell that within a 100-point range, only halfway through the season, there's still a lot more drifting to go. And as we talk about how these points are allocated, some of the fans will probably not know that we've actually tightened up the championship points this year. And that's mainly due to what we noticed at the end of last year when we had 5 people that could mathematically win the championship going into Irwindale. And we'll explain that a little bit more later.
All right, so there is our current standings. And again, as we are getting prepared here for round 4, the Formula Drift Pro Championship, like I said, the forecast, obviously, as you can see, it's shiny, it's slick, it's wet, but we have some hardcore fans out here. Thank you so much for joining us here in the stands for a brand new venue. And just, it's interesting just getting to this track. You know, you could either go to Cleveland, you could go to Buffalo, or you can go into Pittsburgh is where I flew in. But it's out here, but it is a really beautiful track. So looking forward to how it's going to shape up. Let's take a look here at how qualifying is laid out here for the 2021 season, right? And also scoring allocation.
Yeah, so you see we've got sector scoring for qualifying. This only applies to qualifying. You can see that the line and angle are allocated points for each sector. And obviously the biggest sector for the judges this event is Sector 3, that kind of bluish, purplish sector in the middle there. And it's very easy to tell why. That part of the course, you have to set up that outside zone almost perfectly to have good flow through that section of the course. So 60 points total for line and angle, and 40 for style, which is fluidity and commitment, makes your 100 points.
In the drivers' meeting, what were some of the standout talking points that the judges were looking for, as well as some of the drivers? Anything stand out as we look at our knockout qualifying goals?
Yeah, and these are the overarching ones, right? We've got the need from the judges to see them running that designated line, and that's what is really talked about in detail in the qualifying meeting. But maximizing angle while maintaining momentum seems like a simple thing, but it is really important to make that flow. And then we really love to see, and this is going to be more in the fluidity and commitment side of things in style, is that initiation with the big rate to angle. Finally, fast and smooth transitions. That's just showing control of the vehicle, making sure you know where you are on course. And one of the important things, I think, obviously, because of these wet conditions, is that when we first start seeing some of these initial scores drop down, it's going to give us an idea of kind of where the marker is for this type of driving. Now, we probably won't see spotting laps like we've had in the past sight laps, because the track has been pretty consistently wet through the warm-up session, so we'll probably just get right into it. Once Matt Field goes, that's going to be a marker, right?
Yeah.
If he goes down and gets a score and lays down an 85, and you see a little bit of movement in the vehicle, he's trying to settle the car, dealing with the wet conditions, then we know more or less that that's going to be kind of the standard moving forward.
All right, remember that knockout format. So coming into this round of competition, we knew that, unfortunately, Ryan Littoral, his vehicle is not together. He's still working on trying to get it dialed. I know he's here in the building, unable to run, him and his Power Stop GT Radial vehicle. Also, we're hearing that Federico Sharifo and Fiorella, his Ferrari, is not here as well. So want to make sure that him and George and the whole team, they get better. I know a couple of their teams tested positive for COVID, so they decided to stay home. George, shout out to you, GMG Automotive out there in Georgia as well. But we are hearing murmurs that I believe you got a text about JTP and Justin Pollock and maybe him having some issues as well.
Yeah, we did hear that Justin Pollock may have suffered an engine failure during this warm-up session, and unfortunately for him, because this is an official practice session, he's turned wheels in the vehicle. If he had a backup vehicle, he would not have been able to use it. If a driver turns wheels in an unofficial practice session, they can swap out the vehicle, but unfortunately it happened in this practice session, so it looks like he's going to be done for the day. We'll double, triple confirm that, but that is coming directly from our competition director, Kevin Wells, saying that Justin Pollock suffered an engine failure and looks like he's going to be out of competition.
Yeah, yeah. All right, when we come back, we are just a few moments, so we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll see our first vehicle here on the line for round 4 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship here at Borderlands. For the first battle here at E-Town in the Pro Championship in New Jersey. Chelsea Nova throws in and Adam LC trying to chase him out. These guys good friends. They've made video content before. Now coming into that second outside zone, filling all of that 180-degree turn. Chelsea Nova with a slight little bobble, a little correction there as that slow trickle coming and approaching that first front clip. Now they're going to transition down into that final outside zone, which is menacing because that wall is very unforgiving. We saw Austin Mata get taken out earlier in the Pro Spec Championship, and there they go, crossing the finish line. So, and here comes Robbins. Definitely an aggressive driver last year, tempering the flame, literally cooling it down here in the wet, but still phenomenal placement of that Nissan Z. And here goes, look at that, hangs it out to dry. And then around that front clip, you can see Kazuya Taguchi taking out that front clip. Oh, and Robbins once again, so even in the lead position, takes that shallower line, just having a tough time. Maybe a little nerve-wracking looking at that wall and trying. So let's see how they handle this. You saw Chelsea Nova kind of pedal back a little bit. Looks like he's got the grip in the car. As Ryan starts looking, Chelsea, oh, buddy.
What was the over-under on that happening?
As they leave the start line. The conditions are drying out just a little bit, so I feel like we will be seeing a little higher speeds here coming to that first outer zone. Wonder if the gearing is going to work out for Frederick Osbo as Chris Forsberg takes a shallower line here. Frederick goes all the way out to that second outer zone. And now Chris gets that. Look at that, that absolute proximity. And now, ooh, it shallows up, takes out that front clip. He had to do it. Yeah, he had to do that. And then goes into that final outer zone. So shallow by Chris Forsberg. And this is a must-win for him. He will all him just a few rounds ago. And here he is, Matt Field. A victory lap for the Falcon Tire Drift Cave Corvette, the Beast of the Bay 777. Your winner here at E-Town, the debut of the purpose-built Drift Coliseum here at Englishtown Raceway Park. Matt Field gets the victory as Chris Forsberg retires and the Falcon Tire smoke gets created. Ryan.
Yeah, Mr. Appropriate Confidence coming through again. Doing well based on preparation. Matt Field, your winner here at Englishtown Raceway. Unfortunately for Chris, was not able to get the car to the line for the second run. He will get that second place, though, much needed as he tries to rack up points for what could potentially be a 4th championship, but does have some work to do, some gremlins to work out, and let's not forget that Frederick Osbo also capturing a podium here tonight.
Is a machine with 800 horses coursing through its veins. Ignited. human horsepower.
I'm Dylan Hughes, Formula Drift Pro driver, and today we're going to talk about Royal Purple HPS and what actually goes into it. There's a lot of talk about additives, and Royal Purple has its proprietary Centerlick technology. It is fortified with a high level of zinc phosphorus anti-wear additive for exceptional protection against heat and wear. Its high film strength improves sealing between the piston ring and cylinder wall for maximum horsepower and torque. Royal Purple HPS, race car technology for the street.
The Pedal Commander is the world's most advanced throttle response controller. It's a plug-and-play unit that unleashes the power of your vehicle. Has 36 total settings, is easy to install, and makes the driving experience so much more fun.
Picks up RPMs way better, kind of like a race car, it responds.
Order now and use code FD2021 for $30 off your purchase.
Because you had to move. All right, umbrellas are out, the tires are on, the tank is filled, and we are about to see our first qualifying run here at a brand new venue for us, Lake Erie Speedway here in Northeast Pennsylvania. I'm Jared Deenda. Joining me is Ryan Sage once again. You can see the wind is blowing, little spritz, little spitty. Look at that, little puddles of mud. No puddles of mud here. We got puddles of. Ryan, elaborate a little bit more on knockout qualifying, if you would.
Yeah, so it was actually really interesting. We were looking at trying to put together this format. I think one of the questions that we've been getting asked the most recently is, you know, you guys are not allocating points for qualifying, and why are you not doing that? And the primary reason is that qualifying format is really about seeding, right? Yeah. And if the qualifying format is working properly, what we should see is that the guys that are driving the best on this course during the weekend should make it further into competition. And so far this year, that is kind of what we have seen. We've seen number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 qualifier, all in the Final Four in some occasions, or it's a lot of the top qualifiers. However, that's not the biggest reason why. Okay. The biggest reason why we took away qualifying points was because last year, during COVID, when we didn't have qualifying points, we had the tightest championship chase that we've ever seen. Yep. And we felt that it was a good by getting rid of qualifying points, because usually that ended up winning championships.
Here we go. We'll get onto that more here after we see Matt Field, our current #1 position driver. Big angle there from him. Nice job. And this is a great way to start these wet qualifying sessions. Again, no side laps. We just saw them come out of practice, filling all that outside zone. You can see him dipping out of that outside zone, now coming into that final outside zone, filling all of it, bringing it all the way out is, again, our current leader, the Beast from the Bay, in that Falcon Tires Drip Cave Borla exhaust Corvette. And notably, it's interesting, he brought it up in New Jersey. He says that's the first time the Corvette has won an event, because you know, he's been competing in it. He has won events, but not in that vehicle.
Well, he's your top guy right now, and I have to say that was a pretty good example of following the criteria that the judges are looking for. Kind of a straight shot, nice initiation, minimal e-brake. He gets right up against the wall. Now remember, this whole bank right here is an outside zone, and you should leave it right there. He does just that, eyes it up pretty well here, comes down, nice transition, gets real slippery here, goes right to the edge of the course, fills that outside zone number 2, eyes up a good entry point into outside zone 3, stays right at the edge here, and I think that this is going to be a pretty solid standard for the judges overall, and I would not be surprised to see this go pretty high even in the wet conditions. But as we wait for the score, you'll find this really interesting. At the end of 2020, when we saw that we had 5 possible champions going into Irwindale, we just loved that, right? Yeah. So we looked at the previous 10 years of championships, and qualifying points either influenced drastically or decided championships. So we changed the overall championship points to be tighter, so that there's more possible potential champions going into Irwindale, scenarios going into Irwindale, and so that it would be more exciting for the fans at the end of the day and put emphasis on tandem competition.
I like it. Cool. Well, if I like it or not, that is how it goes down. Chris Yule, Ryan Lantain, Brian Egger, judges. Bam, a 92 from Matt Field. So nice job, a 92. So who's line judge? Is that a perfect score? There it is, Ryan Lantain giving a perfect score for line. All right, Odie Bakshi on the start line. So here are the frenemies, the duo here. Currently second place in standings. Matt Sopa sending him on through. Here we go. The Falcon Tires field suspension. S15. Now coming in. Let's see if the other frenemy could do well here. Man, looking really good there. Massive angle there from Odie. Hangs it out there all the way to, I would say to dry, but he's definitely not going to be dry by the end of this run. Into that second outside zone, shreds that back bumper off. Quick little correction there as he transitions in that final outside clipping zone. Now, Ryan, there is that third outside zone, and I want you to break down exactly what the judges are defining as where they want to see the back end of that vehicle when we go through the instant replay. But a great run there from currently second in points, Odie Bakshi.
I thought you were going to say, why did you guys paint 5 tiny lines at the end of that outside zone?
We didn't do anything. The judges definitely did. And
I can answer that question too.
Yeah, but break it down to give clarity for our fans.
Well, it looks like Odie, just like Matt, feels pretty confident about his abilities here in the wet. He also, too, gets a pretty snappy initiation right up against the wall there. You can see very little deviation from a nice high line. Maybe comes off, towards the edge of outside zone 1. Does a good job manipulating the vehicle, does take out that one little part of that outside zone there. But remember, it's the tires that we're looking for. Where are the tires on the track? Are they at the edge of the track? Are they over? Are they way inside the zone? That's what the judges are going to be looking for. They're not worried about bumpers hitting markers, because the bumpers are such a wide difference in the series, right? What they are really looking at and what they're telling the drivers to do is where they can put those rear wheels. So Odie may have gone off a little bit there, but I still think this is going to be a pretty good score here for our current second in points.
So Ryan, I asked the question, but again, could bring some clarity there. The multiple white stripes, especially on outside zone 3, what is the edge of the course? The multiple white, would you define that as going off course? Basically, say like at Road Atlanta, we have a clear delineation between pavement and then going into dirt. Would you say that the multiple white lines would be considered dirt, as we get a 90 from Odie Bakshi?
Yeah, the white lines are considered the edge of the course. The reason why we have those multiple white lines was as a request from the drivers, because for them coming into that part of the course, it is fairly difficult for them to kind of eye up where they need to put the car, and so they ask for additional markers on the track to be able to manipulate the vehicle in the way that they want to with confidence.
There are judges. We're up here in the booth. There you go, Ryan. We'll wave on over there. You got Chris Yule. Chris, go and wave to the camera there. Ryan Lantain and Brian Eggert. Too late. You missed your shot. As I know, your parents are so proud of you whenever I say your name, Chris. So there you go. Just your dad. Just your dad. He's the only one that's hyped on it. Just to clarify. All right. So Frederick Osbo, as you can see, best 2021 finish. Got in the box, third place at our in Orlando. Got the win. So here we go. Frederick Osbo initiating the Rockstar Energy Drink. Toyota Racing, Toyota Supra. Look at that, nice job. The windshield wipers are on. A lot of debris there on that bank. Thing bounces its way into that second outside zone. Drops it right in there. Really well done. Does not get beyond it, and now into that final outside zone. Ooh, really maxes it out. Almost got that second back left tire off. We'll see some different angles there. Got aggressive with the flick. Might end up hurting him, but still, I mean, still good line, still aggressive.
Yeah, it's really amazing. We're seeing Frederick Osbo in 3rd place right now in the overall championship. And, you know, for my own intents and purposes and just taking a look at his performances here, I really don't think we've seen his best just yet. I don't think we've seen him come out of the box and give us everything that Osbo has, and that's a really scary thing for the rest of the field. But as we take a look at his qualifying run, notice same thing, nice high line, heads down into the second outside zone. Midline there, so maybe could have been a little bit deeper. Now he throttles up right here. He pushes, and he may have pushed a little bit too far. He dips that right rear onto those white lines that we talked about, and he doesn't really correct it until we get to the end. So possible little mistake there. We'll see how the judges take a look at it overall. Remember, Matt Field did get that perfect line, so we can just compare everybody to Matt Field at this point in terms of line.
And I heard the judges kind of conversing down here, Brian Eggert and Ryan Lontaine, and it was talked about in the drivers' meeting about, you know, okay, if you're off it, -1 point. If you're beyond it, -1 point. So, you know, just you know, it's always good getting insight and overhearing what the judges are looking for. And as Chelsea Denofa waits on the line, is BC Racing Nitto Tire Fun Haver. Say howdy, get rowdy. Mr. Chelsea Denofa on the line, Ryan.
No, I was just asking the line judge, Ryan, how many points off would he give Osbo for going off course in the 3rd outside zone. He said, I gave 2 points in one area and 1 point deduction in the other because of how long it was there. So
still a 26 on at that, but look at angle 30. Right. So a perfect angle line or angle score, excuse me, style 37. So that, you know, lost some in line, but really gained an angle and style. So which garners him a 93. Which
and just remember, style is
that's our number one qualifier.
Number one qualifier, yeah. The fluidity and commitment for Osbo is what basically corrected for his line mistake. Right, his line mistake was very apparent, but his fluidity and his commitment, and especially how he dealt with the initiation, is what gave him that bump.
There we go, Chelsea Denofa initiating. Look at that front wheel, that front left, barely moving, does hit a little bit of a bump. Massive angle here from Chelsea Denofa. Look at the wheel speed here from Chelsea Denofa now, coming through the puddle, into that second outside zone, really crawling into that second outside zone. Doesn't even get all the way out there. Maybe a little timid there. Maybe not has the perfect wet setup just right there on the edge of that outside zone. Well done there. Comes off it pretty early. About 3/4 of the way through that 3rd and final outside zone. There's some real moments of greatness there, but again, I think what's really going to hurt him is that transition into that second outside zone.
Yeah, I think a lot of people sometimes get confused when they see drivers make a mistake in any particular part of the course. What you have to remember is that the course in qualifying is broken up in sectors, right? So you can do poorly in one sector, but really do great in another sector, whereas another guy can do average in both sectors. And it could potentially equal out. Here, Denofa, you see, comes up quite a bit short on that second outside zone, as you said, was really moving slow with the momentum factor there, but he's able to kind of get back on it. He stays almost right at the edge there in this final outside zone. I also thought his big bank was pretty solid as well. Doesn't stay all the way through the zone there, so we're going to see some deductions, but I like his preparation here getting into this first outside zone. Being sideways, right into the zone, fully committed. Look at how close his back bumper is to the wall there. So remember, the sector that has the most points for line and angle is this sector. So we may see him get bumped there, and look, he does. He gets an 86.
An 86 from Chelsea Denofa, and just as you speculated, Ryan, that does come to fruition. You know, but I liked what you said, and I think we would both agree that first outside zone, you know, a lot of eyeballs are on that, but there's a lot of points allocated towards the middle part of that track. Looking forward to seeing some great head-to-head tomorrow, and ideally want to see it dry. So, yeah, and again, I know I'm actually got a text message from actually Michael Leslie saying most of the drivers, if not all, really it's difficult to see that outside zone 3. So again, that coming into play. Here we go. This is Dean Carnage Carney, the Oracle Lighting Dodge Viper. You can see that massive angle there is zeroing on in, splashing down into the inner portion of the track in that second outside zone. Not as much angle, but I think that's smart play there to fill all that outside zone. And now, even without seeing it, still looking clean, just as I got some communique there from Michael Essa, former FD champ. Well executed there from Carnage as the Nexen tires go round on his Dodge Viper.
So Dean Carney having a pretty strong year here in 2021 and trying to back this up here with a good position in the bracket. We've seen positions can make or break certain drivers, right? A higher that you qualify, most times that should give you easier battles depending on how drivers are performing on any given track. And he's done pretty well so far this year. You can see as he kind of navigates through that first outside zone, he pushes a little wide there. Now, the biggest section of the course for points right here. How does he handle it? Pretty smooth, nice and consistent, has those windshield wipers going. Little tiny abrupt movement there as he got into outside zone 3, but notice that rear wheel is pretty much locked in on that back line there. And I think that's a pretty good job overall. And of course, we have to remember, it's not all about line. We've got other categories that the judges are looking at. Line, relative to angle, and also factoring in that fluidity and commitment, right? Commitment, how close are you to the wall? What does your initiation look like?
Yeah, do you remember what Carnage said in New Jersey? He was stoked on the wet. I don't know if you remember that. So
he liked it. He's like, I'll take it all night.
Yeah, he's like, I'm totally into it. And I think that really shows you. And I'm just thinking to myself, hey, Ryan, go grab a Dodge Viper and go ahead and slide it around and not spin out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, all these guys, but I'm just thinking specifically even a Dodge Viper, but these high horsepower machines, they're making it look really easy here in the wet.
Indeed.
So an 87, so you can see the point allocation here, 36. So a lot of style there, lacking on the angle and the line, missing some points. So still relatively a good score, but we are seeing these drivers really navigate it. And as I said, getting some communication from Michael Essa saying that outside, the third and final outside zone is difficult to see, but obviously they're making it look good. All right, here we go. Kazuya Taguchi here in that up garage ISR GT Radial Toyota 86. Seen him really come to life in this new car. Again, we've seen him drive a GTR to, a previous vehicle to this, and now, I tell you, he had an S15 prior to this, and now this 86, being a brand new car, makes it look really good. Ooh, crawling through that second outside zone. Now transitions into last, takes out that clip. Ooh, that's a big off track there, but we'll see from maybe potentially another angle there for sure. Of course, one tire off, the other second tire go off. That would be just a large deduction, wouldn't be an incomplete, but still not keeping it on the right side of the lines.
Yep, the exercise for us up here in the booth, Jared, and for everybody at home is where are those rear wheels going on the track? That's the most important thing in terms of just the line category for Kazuya Taguchi and the judges. Kind of mid-high line in the bank, starts working his way up. Should receive mostly full points there. Now coming down off the bank, transitions into outside zone 2. Keeps those front wheels pretty locked up and does a nice job of navigating that very high point outside zone 2. But here, pushes a little bit too hard, goes well off course, and kind of stays there for almost, I would say, half of the zone, and then makes another mistake as he finishes up towards the latter part of the zone. So we'll definitely see an infraction on line there. Maybe like Osbo, he can make it up in the style score and kind of offset some of those points. Also, he did well in that second sector, and that's where the majority of the points are compared to the other sectors.
Kazuya Taguchi, GTR to S15, which he's doing really well in, and now a new car, and he's making that thing look even better, just progressing with every new vehicle.
He can drive everything.
Yeah.
Anything and everything.
All right, Ryan Turk on the line as we wait for Kazuya Taguchi's score. And here it is, an 88 for the Up Garage ISR driver, Kazuya Taguchi. You can see, so really lacking on that line angle. So yeah, -3 in angle, -2 in style, line -7.
I'd have to imagine that the angle deductions came a little bit from the first sector and the last sector.
Here we go, Ryan Turk, the Gum Out Toyota Racing Nitto Tire Toyota Corolla hatchback. Let's see how he handles this hot hatch into that first outside zone. The 4-cylinder nitrous turbocharged hatchback coming down. Great angle from him. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, just over here in the judges, that is a lot of angle. I was thinking the same thing. And then as he comes unwound in that second outside zone, switching between the different views here on screen. Ooh, that's getting pretty deep there. Ryan, some major mistakes here from Ryan Turk. Fortunately, he will put down a score, but where he lands, I mean, given we've seen 92, 90, 93, the lowest score right now is an 86 from Chelsea Denofa.
Yeah, I mean, what the judges want to see is they want to see the most angle you can get out of the car without disrupting or having it be coupled with proper momentum moving through the course. I think Ryan Turk on this section doing just fine. Big angle here, but here angles up so much that he has to make that correction, right? And he does make it look pretty good, and I think that's much better than an incomplete and going to the bottom 8. But obviously, you couldn't hide that mistake. Now, here he goes a little bit wide into outside zone 3. He does bring it back down, but he's not drawing the most consistent line until we start getting about 3/4 of the way through that zone. And he will probably receive some deductions there as well for both line and potentially angle by having to make that adjustment.
I think it was almost coincidental. When he maxed out that angle, he came back and countered to transition to the second outside zone, and there's that little dip there. So it looked like he was like back to zero, for lack of a better term, and it was the perfect storm, given that we are in the rain too. So he came back, transitioned around, came unwound, doink, and bounced out, and I think that threw him off.
I'm standing in agreement with you.
Thank you, I appreciate that, Ryan. Thank you, Dr. Sage. All right, as we see Captain Clutch Kick here on the line, there it is, and it's reflective in the score. It is a score which is good, and given that we only have 31 drivers, that #1 qualifying spot is kind of a coveted item, as you will get an automatic, the fast pass into the top 16. We're not having to do a competition in 32, and that obviously is because our next driver was to be Justin Pollock, and he is a scratch. So 31 vehicles enter if every vehicle continues. Right now, Vaughn Kitten Jr. and this Monster Energy Nitto Tire Ford Performance Mustang RTR Spec 5D. Here we go, Vaughn Kitten Jr. initiates. We saw the other RTR Mustang with an 86 in Chelsea Denofa, but their vehicles have very different and varying setups. You see Vaughn Kitten Jr. not getting as high on that big bank there as Chelsea Denofa. So sometimes that could hurt or help you as Vaughn comes up way shallow on the second outside zone. Struggle bus here for Vaughn, but now he brings it all the way out. Well done there, RTR ready to rock. Splash zone here for the reigning and defending champion here in the Formula Drift Championship, coming in to this round of competition, sitting 9th in points. Obviously a very talented driver is a Mustang RTR Spec, the Mustang Mach-E over at Goodwood Festival Speed right now.
Well, as we set the cars to release, you can see a little play there for Vaughn Kitten Jr. with the Fun Haver out on his way. And let's remember, this is your defending champion, proved a big point last year by coming out and being that most consistent driver over the course of doubleheader weekends leading into Irwindale. And I do actually think that in some sense, a format like this where positioning in qualifying doesn't necessarily give you a points total like we've had in the past, kind of favors somebody like Vaughn Kitten Jr., who has really demonstrated himself to be an incredible tandem driver. And it doesn't matter where you put him in the lineup, he's going to do well. When he's on fire, he's unstoppable. So we'll see how he does here in his qualifying lap here and find out where this driver is going to end up in the top 32.
Yeah, Water and Vaughn, I guess that's where the gremlins show up. You know, don't feed them after midnight, don't get them wet, and you know, obviously little Gizmo turns into Spike sometimes. So unfortunately, and there is an 81. So again, the two RTR Mustangs not having good luck or faring well in the wet. So an 81 for the defending champion, Vaughn Kitten Jr. Yeah, we are getting confirmation that Justin Pollock was to go in front of Vaughn Kitten Jr., but his engine did pop. And as you elaborated, Ryan, prior to us starting qualifying, that because he started official practice in that vehicle, he cannot drive a backup vehicle. So hopefully, maybe, I don't know if he has a backup engine or they're thrashing on it right now, but right now it's all about three-time Formula Drift champion Chris the Force Forsberg. Pilots NOS Energy Drink, Nissan 370. Oh, and he comes out of angle, and Forsberg corrects. That will be a golden goose. That is an incomplete for Forsberg.
Well, this has been a more consistent and unwanted sight, I think, from any Formula Drift, or excuse me, Chris Forsberg fan, but definitely for the team themselves, is mechanical problems. We saw it in New Jersey, but it didn't manifest itself until the final battle.
We saw in Orlando. We saw it every round.
Had an electrical issue, and when Chris isn't dealing with those things, he tends to go far in competition. When he is dealing with those things, if they show up, at a non-opportune time like qualifying or top 32, it definitely hurts. So that right there is going to be our first incomplete. That means that Chris will be going to the bottom 8 once again. And now he will only be able to move a possibility of 7-8 positions, depending on how many drivers we end up taking for the bottom 8. And just as a reminder of the fans, after we get through this first lap, the drivers with the lowest...
Run one of all the drivers.
Run one of all the drivers, we will take the lowest score drivers up to 8. And then they will do a second lap that will only order them in the positions that they could have been in. And in this case, it'll be 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31.
Yep. And that's if all the remaining vehicles pull the line and are ready to go. But yeah, so Chris Forsberg forces himself to go to that bottom rung. And we saw this from him in Orlando. But excited to see how Travis Reeder in that Link ECU GT Radial BMW fares. Lady in red, Travis Reeder throws it in. He's used to the moisture being up there in the Pacific Northwest. A lot of seat time there at Evergreen Speedway, where we have our Formula round of competition now coming down, dipping through the puddle. Oh boy, that's got to be an incomplete. That's a completely unchaseable run. So unofficially incomplete, but I have to think that will be one for Travis Reeder, unfortunately.
Well, the judges have been a little bit more flexible this year in each driver's meeting to talk about how many tires off would constitute an incomplete. It's not 2 tires off, and sometimes it's not 3 tires off depending on the track. Like Road Atlanta, for example, we saw Chelsea DeNova go 3 tires off, and they did not incomplete him for that, and kind of basically said that that's fine in that particular part of the course if you do that on that transition. However, this is, I think, more in line with what you said, that is this a chaseable lead, right? Imagine being a chase driver and having to deal with that. I think that would be more of the incomplete than going 2 tires off there.
All right, can hear the judges conversing here in front of us. Travis Reeder, and I'll take ownership over that. I cursed him. I talked about him being
really good in the rain.
Yeah, good in the rain. He's from the Pacific Northwest, and he goes off course. So I'm sorry, Travis. All joking aside, we'll see how he fares. Like I said, at minimum, he would be going to the bottom rung. Let's see. Gonna take a look at another instant replay here, Ryan. He was all gravy here, all good.
Is that Ryan Lantain that's coming on? Are you on, Ryan?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Ryan,
go ahead.
yes, sir.
All right. What we're looking at here is whether or not this is a chaseable lead run. You can see that he stalled up quite a bit in that area, trying to maintain 1 tire or 2 tires on the track surface, on the actual legal surface, let's call it. He did drop 2. That front left tire was right on the line. Now, we would not deem that an incomplete for that reason, but we might deem it an incomplete because he's decelling where he's not supposed to. And in that case, this is a kind of a compound error. You've got multiple tires off plus a big stall in this area. So you can see that front left right on the edge. But if we can't give him an incomplete for just the tires off, as a compound error, you can see that would be very difficult for a driver to chase. If there was a chase car behind him, he's decelling in an area that he's not supposed to, and pretty aggressively in that area. So this is one that I'm going to have to talk with the other judges and figure out whether or not we're going to give this an incomplete for that reason.
Yeah, the vernacular unchaseable lead has become kind of popular in the Formula Drift circle the past few years. It's actually made its way into the rule book, and they've been really, I think, hard on that. Pushing that is that even in qualifying, they want to see you run a chaseable lead. And an unchaseable lead means that the chase driver who's being asked to be door-to-door, pushing hard, if you make a significant enough mistake where that's going to have an impact on the chase driver, then they can deem that an incomplete. And it does look like they are going to go ahead and certify that one.
Yeah, so we'll make it official. That is an incomplete for Travis Reeder as we look at it again here. And as Ryan said, a compound correction here, you know, unchaseable, 2 tires off, slows down in a non-decel zone area, maxed out the angle. I mean, if I'm chasing that wet or dry, you're gonna be stomping on the brakes. You're gonna be trying to avoid contact there and writing off your car. So
just text him and tell him my bad. That was
my bad, Blair.
Curse.
My bad. All right, here's Jeff Jones, who has had one heck of a season, having fun, smiles on his face, and like they always say, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. But again, Travis Reeder with an incomplete. Here goes Jeff Jones, 818 GT Radial, Nissan 370Z, really high in the bank. Decent angle from him as he pours a little bit more on it. Look at that, minimal corrections from those front wheels. Looks like he pours some more angle at it. There's that bounce into that second outside zone. You can really hear him lifting there, get himself set up. Just flirts with the edge of that course, keeps it on line, tracking there. Again, dips a little deeper than he did in that second outside zone, but keeps it consistent. Hammering down. Here's a shovel. Can you dig it? Nice job there by Jeff Jones. Powered by the Edelbrock Supercharger on the V8 and under the hood of his Nissan 370Z.
I think Jeff Jones' run here is a pretty good contrast, especially in outside zone number 2. On what the judges are more or less looking for in that area. They want you to be on throttle, pushing through that outside zone 2. But let's take a look leading up to that run. Comes through the chicane. Nice positioning here. Pretty nice aggressive flick to get into that outside zone. You can tell we're starting to see a little bit of mist coming up there, a little bit of tire smoke potentially. And as he comes into outside zone 2, watch the rear wheels here. He's going to kind of stay on throttle, pushing through there. And we saw Travis Reeder really check up. And one of the reasons they gave the incomplete. Now in outside zone 3, you can see he does drop that tire. Let's see if he makes a correction to get back down. He's not super far off. You can see the left rear is inside the line. So maybe a deduction or two there, a point or two there for the line in that area. But overall, a pretty solid run there for the 818 car.
Jeff Jones puts a score on the board as we are seeing Yves Meyer, the Drift Force F22 Eurofighter, coming us from Switzerland. Great looking cars operated by Drift Cave. Two matching vehicles there of Josh Reynolds and that of Yves Meyer. Josh Reynolds currently in the back of the pack, sitting 32nd. As we are waiting for Jeff Jones' score. Let's see what we got here from Fontaine, Egger, and Ewell. That's general knockout qualifying, an 89. An 89 for Jeff Jones. An 89 for Jeff Jones. So a couple incompletes, but now we keep the party going as Yves Meyer is on the start line. And here we go, Yves Meyer through the start chicane. The Type S Touring Products lights. Oh, lighting up underneath as he lights up the track. Aggressive initiation, one of the most aggressive we've seen so far as Yves throws it in, putting more and more angle at it. Very smooth on that transition. How's he gonna handle the second outside zone? No problem, look at that. Absolutely right on the course edge. A little bit of a hiccup there on that transition in the last outside zone. Digs that back right tire into the multiple lines. But man, that was a solid run there by Yves Meyer.
Definitely like the aggression. Like you said, a couple little mistakes. He seemed a little bit bounded up, but he kept it under control for the most part, and I think it may pay some dividends for him here. Let's take a look at this one more time. Nice approach by Yves. Throws it into the bank, stays nice and high there. Look at the front wheels. They're pretty much locked in. Not a lot of adjustment. He makes a little angle adjustment there. Get a bit more angle coming out of outside zone 1. Now here he does do a little bit of throttle feathering through that section there and then gets on it here, pushing towards that final outside zone. That's where you saw the front end make that little tiny adjustment. I don't think it's going to be a major mistake of significance. And overall, I do think the judges will reward this pretty positively as we get a final look here at that last outside zone as he travels around. You can see running around that pole, these long outside zones, really challenging for drivers overall, especially in the wet conditions. But let's see what they thought about Yves Meyer.
All right, Dylan Hughes coming out of the burnout box, or the splash zone, the steam box, the Permatex GT Radial BMW, fast orange, royal purple. And waiting for Yves Meyer's score.
I want him to look up here. I'm going to show him this play. Yeah, come on.
All right, Eve Meyer with an 89. An 89 there for Eve Meyer.
He got, oh, that guy got fourth? What did he score?
All right, so Eve Meyer with that fourth position. That is a great showing there, Ryan. So Frederick Oswald leads the pack with a 93. Matt Field, our current points leader, 92. Sit at second. Odie Bakshi's in third. Here we go. Back to the start line. Dylan Hughes, that Permatex BMW. Now he's running the 2J setup as opposed to the V8 setup. Let's see what we got. D. Hughes. We're going to have some words with him about his latest Royal Purple project. It's 2 tires and not 4. Here we go. Rain-X, I'm sure, is on the windscreen, as of course Rain-X windshield wipers are working hard. Nice execution there on that first outside zone. Fluid through that transition. Let's see if he keeps that fluidity. Ooh. Takes out that cone. Does exceed the line of the track. That'll be a deduction, not an incomplete. Was not as aggressive as Travis Reeder's. And now into that last and final outside zone, buddy. He was, look at that. See that counter steer? That got a little sketchy here, just taking a look at the monitor. Could easily see that thing looping.
I did really like his overall aggression, his relative fluidity, and the commitment. I think there's going to be some line deductions here, but like Oswald, where we saw some line deductions, he kind of made up for it in more aggressive driving. I think right here he could have had a little bit more angle in certain parts of that zone, but he's really driving with a lot of commitment overall, and you can see he does overcommit there to that second outside zone, push a little bit long. Good transition here into this third outside zone. He's not cutting up the course, which we tend to see a lot of times when drivers are just trying to piece things together. He's driving with a good amount of aggression and keeping it under control without going out of control. And here's another look here at this second outside zone. That's from pretty much our perspective, almost right up here. And then as he gets into the final section, you can see he's locked in, pushing wide, big angle here to finish things up. And there is Dylan Hughes locking down run number 1.
Locked and loaded, D. Hughes, the dozer, as we are now seeing Brandon Sorensen, youngest driver, just 16 or 17 years old, I believe he just turned, and just got his pilot's license. Talented young man. As Dylan Hughes with a 90. So look at that. You can see minus some points there in line.
Yeah, you can see that thematically.
Just 3 points, yeah.
Thematically, it's more of an Osbo-esque style run.
Mm-hmm.
Did really well on angle and style, and dropped more points overall on line. So the judges awarding areas where, hey, if you make some mistakes on line, you're driving aggressively, you got a lot of angle, you're committing, you're still going to get a pretty quality score.
Brandon Sorensen on the line. 2-1-2 performance. Sorensen Motorsports BMW. All right. Flicks it in with his Nexen tires on the corners. Grips up, keeps him a little bit lower on the bank, but now works it up. You can see that taillight reflecting on the wall. Good indicator of how close he is. Big angle there. Let's see if he can bring it back into that second outside zone. Ooh, that was pretty reminiscent of what we saw from Travis Reeder, but I don't think it was like as abrupt. It seemed like he had fluidity continuing through. Ooh, boy. And is exploding that back bumper. All right, couple, again, going off the edge of the course. Let's take a look at this again here, Ryan. What stood out in your mind?
Well, irrespective of what happens here in terms of his overall score, he has been super impressive this year, certainly deserving of that license that he took advantage of, that he bypassed during the COVID year. Let's take a look at his qualifying run here. You can see very well committed to that first outside zone. Stays nice and high, comes down off the bank, big angle. We see drivers get in trouble there, but he handles it pretty well. Now he does push a little bit wide, drops that left rear. He is able to stay aggressive though. So look, he's going to get some line deduction points for sure, right? And he's also going to get a line deduction point for that section of the course. But how is his aggressiveness, how is his fluidity, his commitment, and overall his angle match up to the other drivers? And I think that will be partly a saving grace for him here as we pick up some of the pieces that were shedded off Brandon Sorensen's vehicle.
Yeah, I believe it's a lot of paint chips off the wall, but what doesn't have paint chips is that brand new Toyota Tacoma. Thank you to Toyota for providing us for vehicles for our crew. Thank you to Toyota for providing some trucks. All right, as we are getting the track re-prepped here, we'll see what Brandon Sorensen has as far as score, as we see another Supra and another Norwegian. This time it's Simon Olsen. Brandon Sorensen with an 86. It's an 86.
Angle, line, and style.
And 86 for Brandon Sorensen as Simon Olsen.
His line score was the lowest.
And his race supplied Toyota Supra from Hovag, Norway.
Angle, and style, I guess, yeah.
Looks like we are clear to send.
It's pretty crazy. You can knock out 3 cars.
Looks like a little bit more rain coming down as some umbrellas pop up. And Soka sends him down the pipe. Great looking Supra here from Simon Olsen. See how he handles initiation. Initiates. Grips up. Similar to that of Brandon Sorensen. Let's see if he can work it back up. He does not, so stays consistently low here on the first outside zone. See if he can tighten it up. No, he does not. So unfortunately having some issues getting that car to massage all the way out to that outside line. Now he gets it a little deeper there on that final outside zone. So Ryan, is aggressiveness, as you say, offsetting the unfortunate line here, Simon Olsen? What do you think?
Well, I think in this particular case, because he didn't commit to the line in areas of the course, even in a general sense, the commitment in the style score is going to suffer along with the line, right? Yep. So I think we're going to see deductions, across the board there. Let's take a look and see if we can kind of nitpick it here a little bit. Gets a decent initiation there, not fully committed, but you can see right out of the gate he starts dropping down and comes way off outside zone 1. By the time he's finished, he's probably 4 feet down, and that's going to put him on a pretty quick line here going into outside zone 2. Now, luckily, he gets kind of the braking done properly, but he ends up on the inside of the zone, and so he misses that zone as well. And remember, from a line perspective, you've got double points there for both line and angle. And then on the final zone, just barely at the edge. So certainly this is not the run that we would have expected for Simon, and he's probably going to pay a price for it here, but will be a scored run, and hopefully that'll be enough to keep him out of the bottom 8.
And just as you said earlier, Ryan, about the rain kind of maybe drying up, but it looks like more mist and steam. The wind is blowing pretty significantly, and you could see the rain accumulated there on the lens. So it's definitely spritzing a bit more here. Simon Olsen with a 75. A 75 puts him, lackluster, is down there, but does not have an incomplete, is guaranteed a spot. Here's a look at our top qualifiers, our men's journal knockout qualifying. The second half as Osbo leads the pack. Field, Hughes, Bakshis, Meyer, Jones, Taguchi, Carney, Sorensen, and Denofa. And there you can see Gittin, Turk, Olsen. They have scores. Forsberg and Reeder, unfortunately, and then the remaining drivers. When we come back, we'll continue more pro knockout qualifying. We come back here at Lake Erie Speedway. We call this Borderlands.
The Falcon Azenis RT660 is the enthusiast choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falcon Azenis RT660.
At Holley, we're gearheads too, so we decided to create a one-stop shop for all things automotive, a place we call Motor Life. Motor Life is Holley's new completely free digital magazine that houses the how-to stories, car features, news, and videos that car folks love. To check it out, head on over to motorlife.com and don't forget to subscribe to our Motor Life newsletter so you won't miss any of this great car-centric content.
My name came up a lot of sounds, more when I was not around. Certain people that I know, they ain't no longer about. Certain people that I know, they ain't no longer about.
Formula Drift is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Royal Purple, the official engine oil of Formula Drift, the synthetic expert. NOS, the official energy drink of Formula Drift. NOS High Performance Energy. How hard will you drive? All right, welcome back. You can see it's windy. It's a little bit of fog and a little bit of mist. It's got all the weather here thrown at us at round 4 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. I'm Jared Dieta. Joining me once again by my side, Ryan Sage. We'll have Lorette Nickel on the ground and in the pits tomorrow, getting some insight on what's going down. Next up, we move and continue on, sitting 17th in points. This is Alec Robbins from Becker, Minnesota, in that Facetto 350Z. Go with Alec Robbins. Alec Manji entry into that first outside zone. See him tapping the brake there, a little left foot brake. Good angle from him. Good consistency on the bank. Throws some more angle at it, now comes down. Splashes through into that second outside zone, knocks it, barely just knocks it over. So flirting with the edge of the track and then knocks over another cone. Showing you that he's just barely dancing with it. Gets considerably deeper there. But still just really exercising, utilizing all of the course.
Yeah, standout moments for me. I really liked the approach and the execution in outside zone 2. I thought there was a lot of commitment there and looked like he was about to go off course, but stayed right at the edge. Let's take a look at it from the beginning here. Gets right into the box, starts moving his way up. Pretty consistent front wheels there, not moving around too much. Seems like he's feeling pretty settled. And right here, he gets big angle through this section and commits right there to that angle in the car and rides that outside line, just threading it there. So I think he's going to get high marks for that. Did make a little tiny correction coming into outside zone 3 and also entering it in the line. Maybe a point knockoff there for that right rear, right at the edge over a little bit. But overall, I think a pretty aggressive run, a lot of commitment shown, and no major mistakes, which is really important to stay out of that bottom 8.
All right, next up, you can see a great looking vehicle here, Adam LZ, one of the crowd's favorites, both online and in the building. The Formula Drift 2020 Rookie of the Year. So not just looking good, and obviously has a lot of likes and subscriptions on the YouTubes, but also proved it on the track as well.
Like it scalps.
Alec Robbins with an 88. An 88 there for Alec Robbins.
Getting oracled out right there.
What's that?
I said he did a pretty good run.
Yeah, I saw it. 88. Here we go, Adam LZ, originally from Woodbury, Connecticut, now living in the Florida LZ compound. Let's see how he throws down here on Nitto Tire this year. He's got those big meat hooks. Let's see how he puts it down here. Initiating into that first outside zone. Good angle from him. Aggressive. Could be a little bit higher on that outside zone. You can see just on the bottom portion of that outside zone. As he rock and rolls his way into the second outside zone, that's exactly where he needs to be. Keeping the wheels spinning, creating some steam. A lot of water accumulation there, Ryan, going to that last outside zone. See him tapping the brakes, working it, massaging it, and finishing all the way through. Man, right on the razor's edge. Well done there by Adam LZ.
Yeah, and you know, for sure LZ does not want a repeat of New Jersey. Had a tough time, found himself in the bottom 8, ended up having to go up against Chelsea Denofa. That was our #1 qualifier. or number 2 qualifier, if I remember correctly. And so that's going to be a tough time for anybody. This time around, looks like he's very well committed to this first run, trying to maximize the points. Mid-high line on the bank, comes off a little bit early there, but as he transitions to this outside zone 2, lots of points on the table here. Really good execution. See, the back wheels are moving, he's accelerating, does a great job with that little dip there. And as you said, kind of threads the needle here right at the edge of the course, drops it for a second right there, but back on it right towards the deepest part of that outside zone. So I think the judges will reward him handsomely here, and he should be proud of knocking that out in run number 1.
Dip, baby, dip. As Dai Yoshihara sits on the line, turn 14 distribution. Just got done with his Pikes Peak run there and his Tesla, and now he's back behind the wheel. This turbocharged LS Subaru BRZ. Let's see what we got for Adam LZ. Remember, we'll take the bottom 8 as LZ with a 94 takes the number 1 spot, Ryan. So just as we were talking about, did not want to repeat, that was in head-to-head competition, but obviously all LZ fans are absolutely hyped, blowing it up right now.
And another example of angle and style trumping line here. We called out the line mistakes, but the commitment in outside zone 2 and the overall angle is what bumped him into that position. So great job.
Yeah, well executed there from Adam LZ, and look at that, the rain coming down even thicker, so that's going to mean that the conditions are, you know, just getting more moist. Here we go. Dai Yoshihara, turn 14, initiating. Turn 14 distribution, Falcon tires. The Ineos oil going through the veins. The rain really coming down, going right into that right-hand drive, BRZ, now into that second outside zone. You can see a little hesitation there. Coming that second outside zone, dips the tire over. Like I said, look at the water accumulating here on course. All these guys did have a run. They had a significant amount of wet practice. I mean, all practice today as Dai brings it across the finish line. Ryan, the water is definitely accumulating. It is a bummer.
Yeah, he may have been a little bit of a victim of more hard-pressed rain coming down right before his run there. As you said, it was accumulating at a pretty consistent rate. And we are seeing a cell just right above us that is moving its way out, but it's really apparent in this shot here. You can kind of see sideways rain there, Jared, and a little bit of a mistake by Daijiro Yoshihara, having to deal with the some of the changes to the course that may have been a limiting factor to other drivers, having it be a little bit more consistent, but unfortunately, that is part of competition here, and we'll have to see how the judges take a look at that overall.
All right, Dai Yoshihara. Little struggle for Dai Yoshihara, but would love to just at least get in the 80s. Right now, we have Simon Olsen at 75, but remember, just don't want to be in that bottom 8.
No, and it just, the outside zone 2 and the initiation, that makes a case that in both areas, line and angle and all 3 areas and in style, that we will see some probably heavy deduction. So let's take a look at what the judges are going to award Daijiro Yoshihara.
As we see Jonathan Castro, Jerdot Meteldam, Nexon Tire, Toyota Racing Toyota. There it is, 76 to 76. So down there significantly. There you go, Ryan. Look at 22. So a lot of minus and deductions there in line and angle. I mean, 8 across the board. Unfortunate for Dai Yoshihara. Here comes Jonathan Castro from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Jonathan Castro. Continuing on through the course here. Matt Sopa, hood is up. Tires are wet. Let's see what we got here. Jonathan Castro. See how he initiates into the wet. A little hesitant, rightfully so. Just saw Dai Yoshihara go for it, had to back off quite a bit. You are seeing some corrections, but like I said, a lot slicker from what we saw previously. Does go a couple tires off there, and you got to think that the light's reflecting on that outside zone. It's a little difficult to see here at the second white line there. Second or third as he dips that tire off course. Does keep it consistent, so is this, car operated by Papadakis Racing, you know, didn't have the car exactly where it's at, but the aggressiveness, I think, really made up for it, as you described earlier, Ryan.
Yeah, we'll see how the judges kind of pick that one apart. You know, remember, these sector scores are really important to keep in mind to try to figure out what the score is going to be. The initiation here, I don't want to use the word lazy, but it's not super aggressive. And you really can't fault them because we are seeing more rain come down, and it becomes dangerous at a certain point to go past a certain threshold of risk. Now, coming down into this section here, he does do a pretty good job keeping the momentum, but he does push a bit wide there, so we are going to see a deduction in line. Slight little adjustments there with a lack in fluidity and consistency in that transition to outside zone 3, but he does ride the deeper part of outside zone 3, and in some areas goes slightly over, so I think he will get some back there, but we have to remember that a line and angle in outside zone 2 are basically double points of the other sectors, so that will play an overall role in just how many points he can achieve in those particular categories.
Yeah, Ryan, with, as you described earlier, sideways rain. So some sideways rain, as you can see, the wind kicking up, the rain blowing it sideways. And an 86 for the Toyota 86 of Jonathan Castro. So an 86 for Jonathan Castro puts him in the number 12 position. And here we go. Michael Essa, former FD champ, FCP Euro, Liqui GT Radial, BMW. And again, earlier, he was the gentleman that texted me, says, man, it's really difficult to see that third and outside zone. So let's see how, even with more rain, throws it in. Nice job there. You can see it might even tap the wall. Comes down into that second outside zone, through the puddle, forging the river. Spot on that second outside zone. Looks like they're on a glassy lake. For not having seen it, Michael, you look pretty good, bud. Into that last outside zone. Dials it in as the Bilstein shocks being put to good use. He's across the finish line. Good run there from the former champ, Michael Essa.
Yeah, really adaptive to these wet conditions here and seemingly getting through that without too many mistakes. The champion, Michael Essa, showing some of his veteran skills and qualities here. Let's take a look at that run once again. We're seeing our highest score of the day at a 94, and I believe that is tied, but we will have the tiebreakers putting LZ in first place so far. I believe that is correct.
No, he's independent. He's the only one with 94.
94, okay, yeah, Osbo with the 93.
Yes, sir.
And Essa here starting to look like he's ramping up with a pretty solid run here. You can see even as we're starting to see a little bit of standing water, he somehow navigates through the highest points possible section of the course and does it near flawlessly. I mean, he kept the throttle on, good angle in the car. Notice how the car's not really moving around. He's just staying on a proper line there and driving with a lot of confidence. And I know that that's exactly what the judges want to see throughout the course. Look at how the course is like kind of purple with the water coming down.
Yeah. Yeah,
lights.
The lights, yeah. The Type S touring products, the official lighting of Formula Drift. We're in the Men's Journal Knockout qualifying. Right now we are seeing Rad Dan, the Rad Industries Gear Wrench Toyota Supra, 91. A 91 for Michael Essa. Well executed for Michael Essa.
So are we far enough down in the competitor field to kind of start talking about the cutoff? It looks like because now that Pollock has gone out, it's going to be a different set of 8 drivers. It'll go further up the list. There will be 1 bye, or is it going to be 2 byes?
It will be 1 bye, but that's we can't count the byes just yet because both. Ooh, look at this! Here we go. Let's talk about Rad Dan Burkett right now. Throws it in. Very fast through this bank. Massive angle from him, but is that too much? Low on the bank. Interesting line there from Rad Dan, and you can see him just fighting to stay in it. Oh, Ryan, it gets a little hairy there. That's just a point of contention right there, smack dab right in the middle of his run. Like I said, interesting line on the bank coming down. I think that set him up for failure on that second outside zone.
Well, we always love to see aggressive driving, and especially if a driver says, you know what, I'm going to think less about my line in certain areas to maximize my angle and maximize my style points. You know, I'd rather shave a few points off, but it's when you kind of marry the mistakes of line, like dropping down super far on outside zone 1 that Dan did here, with a mistake like this part where he kind of angles up and he starts losing forward momentum. The front wheels don't make a big adjustment, but he kind of gets on a little bit of a wonky line going into outside zone 3. So we will see some deductions there. I do like the overall aggressiveness from Rad Dan, but obviously that second outside zone, double points there for both line and angle. So we will see, you know, quite a few points off for that sector.
All right, as we are seeing the Goosh, Ken Gooshi, the OG, on the start line. He's been dealt quite a bit of bad luck this year, Ryan, in that Greddy Toyota Racing, Toyota GR Supra. Kenshiro Gooshi has been competing since day one. He's been teamed up with Toyota for quite some time, quite an ambassador for him. Definitely love the most recent Toyota commercials with Frederick Osbo and Ken Gooshi and Ryan Turk. All right, what do we got? Here's another look.
Oh, so this means that the judges are looking at something specific there. Let's see if we can find out what it is that they're looking at. My guess would be, is there an incomplete? Is there an unchaseable lead? He's way off outside zone 1. That was the shot that we saw from the live run, and here he really angles up. Now I think that's probably what they're looking at, Jared, because there's not anything else in the run that sticks out to me in a way that would constitute another look, unless they're just trying to get an angle that they want and to allocate points for a certain sector.
All right, here is Kenshiro Gooshi on the start line, waiting for the outcome of the Rad Industries Toyota Supra. And you can see Gooshi battered and bruised there on that left-hand side, back left fender. Let's see what Rad Dan Burkett, the hesitancy of the outcome of this is speaking volumes. All right. So just a small little technical glitch here as far as I believe the judges, they have submitted. We're waiting for the outcome here. Is it an incomplete? Is it a scored run? And patiently waiting. Thank you to our hardcore fans enduring the rain. All right. All right, Dan Burkett.
It looks like we may go analog on this one, and you know, this is obviously going to distress the spotter of Dan Burkett, thinking, oh, are they going to give me an incomplete? No, this is actually, it looks like just a tech glitch on the pads here, but the scores did come in, so let's make it official here for Dan Burkett.
Gooshi backs it up off the line. I'm sure put some heat into those real quick. Looks like the rain isn't coming down as hard. A 74 for Dan Burkett. 74 for the Rad Industries Gear Wrench Toyota Supra. So from an old school Supra to a Mark V Supra, here we go with Kenshiro Gooshi on start line, purging the nitrous. Let's see what we got from Mr. Burkett. Or excuse me, from Ken Gooshi. And Ken Gooshi crawling his way. What was going on there? That was very slow from Ken Gooshi. Very hesitant. You wonder if he's having issues again? Oh yes, that is, the answer is undeniable. Unfortunately for Ken Gooshi, that is an incomplete. Ryan, difficult season for Ken Gooshi, as he will be limping his way off of the course. And in regards to, you're talking earlier about where where the cutoff is. Because Justin Pollock did not enter into actual qualifying, he popped before, we will take actually from position 24 to 31. Those are the bottom 8 after everybody's first run. So again, 24 through 31st as we look at Ken Gushi's run here. We both kind of looked at each other saying, what's going on here? And very quickly we found out that he's not 100%.
Yeah, I think if we first looked at each other right at initiation, it seemed to have a little bit of a problem there. It may have been just a tiny little setup problem, but this is clearly a mechanical issue now once he kind of stops drift. So tough time, tough break for Ken Gushi last couple rounds, trying to find a way to get his car out there and compete the way that he wants to, but he will have to go to the bottom 8 now and try to survive here, make it into the top 32 for tomorrow.
All right, Wataru Masuyama, the Buy Now Japan Sylvia S15 is back. And let's see how he throws down here. Masuyama, very talented driver. Comes in real hot and heavy. Nice job from Masuyama in that first outside zone. Obviously could be higher, but I think it's smart to get a score on the board. We're seeing, a few incompletes here. Don't overcook it. Don't write off the car. Keep it. Oh, and just as I say that, he does have a correction there. Going to that third and final outside zone. So offline is definitely going to be deducted some line points, but was really going for it right out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel that positioning is really important, even for the best drivers out there. I mean, some drivers may want to get, the last place because they've got a hope to be knocking out guys in 32 and 16 that might be their championship competitors.
Strategy.
But in general, you want to see the drivers that are doing the best at any given course be in certain qualifying positions so that you get the best possible competition for the fans at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
The top 2 guys in the finals, the top 4 guys in the final 4. But you in this qualifying kind of format, you do have this one opportunity to make that impression. And if you make some mistakes, you're going to have to go to the bottom 8, and then that is kind of the the variable that these drivers are dealing with here. And so we do see some mistakes from Masuyama, a little bit unkept here on this run, and missing some key areas, especially on outside zone 3. But let's see what the judges think overall.
Masuyama with a 76, so it puts him into 17th position, a 76. Now keep in mind, some of those positions have incompletes. Like I said, if you're just tuning in right now, round 4 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. I'm Jared Deander, Ryan Sage, my co-announcer here, as Chris Forsberg, Travis Reeder have an incomplete, as well as Ken Gushi. And Justin Pollock, unfortunately, suffered a mechanical failure, was unable to run on his first run. And understand that he actually popped his engine. So here we are now, Rome Charpentier in the Garagistic Federal Tires BMW E36. Rome taps that brake, throws it into that first outside zone. Nice job from Rome, consistent angle all the way through, just on the lower portion of the outside zone. Now splashes through into the second. Definitely caught a face full of spray. Just barely crawling his way out of that second outside zone, but does keep that tire speed up. A lot of mist coming off the back, looking more like a jet ski than a BMW. A rooster tail here at Lake Erie. So pretty good run there from Rome.
Yeah, you got to love Rome. I mean, if you're a fan here that's on site, one of the most likable guys in the series and a tremendous competitor. Let's take a look here. Hoping that this is his one and only run as he shoots down that back straight. Kind of a slow roll initiation, trying to get settled here. You can see he's just right at the edge of that outside zone. A couple little flubs with the front wheels, but now he's kind of locked in. Leaves the bottom part of the zone, eyes up this second outside zone. Lots of points on the table here. We've been talking about it all night. Gets into the zone a little bit late and really only fills that second half. But we will see how he does on this third and final outside zone. Much better here, riding the back part of outside zone 3 pretty consistently. And you can see just a tiny little flub there towards the end. But overall for Rome, good way to back things up towards that last section there and finish up strong in front of the judges.
Ryan, we are really narrowing down. We have 5 more drivers, including Jonathan Nairn. Jonathan Nairn here in Juku Racing, BC Racing, Federal Tires, Nissan S14. Said he's looking to bring back his Shelby Mustangs later on this season. We'll see if that comes to fruition. I know he's having some suspension binding from previous rounds, but definitely a talented driver, aggressive driver. Coming to us from North Carolina. As Nairn getting prepared for battle. Scores are in for Rome Charpentier, an 81. An 81 for Rome. And here's the leaderboard. As you can see, boom, Adam LZ has that #1 spot. Adam LZ takes the #1 spot, currently holds it. Osbo, Essa, Field, Hughes, Bakshis, Meyer, Jones, Taguchi, and Robbins.
So we are seeing some of those ties, and we should let the fans know that don't know that the first tiebreaker is the style score. So that's the standout one there. If there's a secondary tiebreaker, it goes into the line and ankle categories. But as of now, let's turn our attention to Jonathan Nairn.
Jonathan Nairn from North Carolina is going to initiate and throwing it in to that first outside zone. No problems at all from Nairn. Some kind of wavering there, but and drops down out of that first outside zone. Quick little lift. Comes up a little bit short on that second outside zone. See how Nairn navigates into the final outside zone. Looking a lot more settled here in that final and third outside zone. And brings it across the finish line. So Nairn will be deducted some line points. But what are the judges going to think of angle and style?
Well, it's hard to know what will pop up here, but just looking at the satellite overhead of the rain, it does look like we are at the tail end of it. And just wondering how that's going to play into the bottom 8, whether they would like to see it dry up a little bit more or kind of stay in this in these conditions because it's what they're used to. And as Nairn navigates, you can see another driver that suffers from coming off that first outside zone a little bit early. The second outside zone doesn't get into it at all and was not able to really fill it there in any way, shape, or form. The third outside zone, he gets into it a little bit late, puts that right rear tire at the edge of the corner. Seems like drivers are much more comfortable with this section there, but he also does come off early there towards the end. So we're going to see, I think, a pretty big line deduction from him in all the major sectors. It'll just depend on how the angle judge and the style judge thought he performed overall in those categories.
Like you said, Ryan, just overlooking the satellite. Still misting a little bit here, not as bad. The wind's still kicking up.
I'm just really looking forward to tomorrow. I want fans to see really awesome, cool tandem action at this great track, you know, in dry conditions. And so that's why that'll be super fun tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. Jonathan Hurst and that No Cash Racing. Does that say No Cash? Cash Racing G37. All right, it's Cash Racing Fortune Auto G37. All right, that's a 79 for Jonathan Nairn. All right, so Nairn locks it in. And as we move on, just 4 drivers left. Remember, we'll take the bottom 8. So you want to be position 23 or higher. If you're 24th, you're going to do your second run again, 24th through 31st. Here we go. Jonathan Hurst, Cash Racing G37. Initiates, fires off, pop it and lock it. 4th of July was the other day, but fireworks shooting out of his hood of the G37. Let's see how he handles this. Transition, slapping down, slapping the base into that second outside zone. A lot of splash, splish splash. Jonathan Hurst is taking a bath through that second outside zone into the third and final. Looks like he dials it in there. Nice and precise as the fireworks keep on burning of Jonathan Hurst and that Cash Racing G37.
Well, if you know his backstory, or even if you don't, it's pretty apparent now that he is very comfortable in the wet conditions. We've seen him not only display a very aggressive driving style, but just kind of have that comfort that makes you think that he's got this under control. And even though in this second outside zone that we'll take a look at here in a second, he goes a bit wide, you'll notice that he does it with a lot of aggression. And he does it by using speed to get out of that zone. He doesn't park it at all. You notice right here in this section, big angle. He does push a little bit wide. Look at the rear wheels though. Full throttle through that section. So he's going to get a line deduction. But I think what we've seen from the judges here tonight is that the line judge is going to take points off, but the style judge and the angle judge are really awarding people for aggressive driving and committing to a certain amount of angle and committing to areas of the course that have a little bit more, say, danger to them, like the outside zone, rubbing the back bumper on the outside zone, or committing to the transition into outside zone 3, areas where it's much easier to make mistakes, and especially in outside zone 2, where there's so many points on the line.
What I also think, and I'd like to bring up is, here in qualifying, everybody's seen wet conditions. At some previous rounds, we'll see some wet, some dry. We start dry, ends up wet. That's hence the sight laps. Here, it's consistently wet. I mean, yes, Dioshara probably got the sideways rain. He kind of got dealt not the best hand as Jonathan Hurst grabs an 86. An 86 for Jonathan Hurst.
Yeah, another one.
Another one.
Another one where the line points really suffered, but he really focused on his angle, and he still got respectable style points, and that's going to make the difference for him. That's going to put him mid-pack as opposed to potentially in the bottom 8.
There it is. Again, the cut is 75 or better. You don't want to be in that number 24th position. Here comes the comp cams, necks and tires, liquid moly, Cadillac ATSV. This is Taylor, full pull hole. Woo! Talking about aggressiveness. Look at this. He's peeled the paint. The paint stripper right now, pulling the paint off the wall. Massive angle here. Ryan, could we see a new leader here? If he keeps this kind of aggressiveness and he puts the car in the right space, Taylor Hull could be our new leader. Ooh, he really exceeds that track line. Now coming to that final outside zone. Man, hit the splash zone. Really hot and heavy, looking like Shamu, the black and white, and crushing it all over Taylor Hull. He absolutely went for it, Ryan. Again, little off the line, liked it. What'd you think?
Well, I know it can bother people when drivers hit cones or make a mess of the track, but we have
especially the track workers.
Yeah, we have to remember what the criteria is.
Right.
The judges are just looking at their rear wheels when it comes to zones that don't have walls. In the case of the wall here, look, he's bouncing off of it for 3 or 4 bounces, still maintains a good lock on the car. Now, as he comes into outside zone number 2, which we'll see in this sector here, he is going to go a bit off course, but it's the back bumper that's hitting those cones, right?
That dash bar.
And the reason why those cones are there is because the drivers want them as markers at the edge of the course. So they're not that far off of the edge of the course. And so the judges are looking at the rear wheels. Where are the rear wheels? And I think overall, when you take that into account, the run is a lot cleaner from a point standpoint than it will be from an appearance standpoint of like, oh, he's hitting cones and going all over the place and blah, blah, blah. But as you said, very aggressive run. I think some people are starting to understand that the judges are awarding people for angle and style, even if they're making line mistakes, because they're separate categories and they're in sectors. And that's, I think, something that spotters need to make sure that they're telling their drivers what they're seeing.
Yeah, relaying the message of the dialogue that we're talking about up here. And it definitely keeps being repeated there. So black, white, and shred all over as Taylor Hull receives an 88. So he does not grab the number 1 spot. But you can see minus 4 points in line, minus an angle. So, I mean, consistently 4 points, taken away in each of the categories. So I would say that's a pretty consistent score. So an 88 there for Taylor full pull Hull, and a good showing there. All right, so our next driver would have been Trenton Beecham, but he is actually going to forego his first run, which obviously that would mean he has a mechanical issue. So he's working and thrashing on his car. Because when you're in that bottom 8, again, he'll find himself next to other drivers that have incomplete, such as Ken Gucci, that of Chris Forsberg and Travis Reeder. But then, as far as scores-wise, you can see right there. So Dan Burkett is currently, he's scheduled and slated, and he will be seeing the second run. And then you can see Forsberg, Reeder, Gucci, now Beecham. The question is Mohan and Reynolds. Where will they land? Will they push whoever's in 23rd, I didn't see that, but whoever's in 23rd down.
Yeah. When Beecham doesn't take his first run, it's not because he is trying to come back and get a number one qualifying run on the second run. That means that he's got a problem with the vehicle. That's why this first run is so important. And we haven't had this kind of a stressor in previous years' iterations of qualifying where you could dip out on your first run and come back and get a number one qualification, right? In this case, if you dip out, you're going to the bottom 8. That's the best that you can do.
Here we go, Kyle Mohan from Long Beach, California. KMR 99, you can see right there on the door, renewable lubricants, Federal tires. Let's see what you got. Of course, Mazda tricks, here we go. Kyle the Menace Mohan from Long Beach. The lone rotary in competition, the last Starfighter, the last Wankel fighter. Second to last driver here in qualifying for run 1, Kyle Mohan. Consistent angle all the way through the course. Now comes down into that second outside zone. Wife and child cheering him on from home. Dad in the building. Now into that last outside zone. Crawls it in there, just sneaks it on in. Into that final outside zone. Keeps it consistent. And brings it across the finish line. So, Kyle Mohan does cross. Let's take a look at this again here, Ryan.
Well, he was dancing with a little bit of an incomplete there before outside zone 3. He was able to kind of get it back in motion and finish up at it from the beginning here. Starts off pretty nice and high on the bank. Would love to see a little bit more angle out of the vehicle. Now he starts kind of trying to drive it home, but he comes off that zone a little bit early. Good angle there on the transition, but he does miss this second.
No updates from him, but there is Kyle Mohan with a 76. A 76 for Kyle Mohan. So again, you don't want to be in that bottom 24 through 31. Otherwise, you will have to have your second run. Dan Burkett did have a 74, and again, he was already in that bottom 24. We'll take a look again unofficially after Josh Reynolds' run at who will have the second run. All right, just get an update here that Essa, we said, was much lower score, but he actually received a 92. So no, definitely a wiping of the brow there for him, a 92 for Michael Essa. Now here we go with our final driver for run 1, a Joshua Reynolds. Joshua Reynolds here in the Drift Force BMW. Event Sillersburg. Coming to us from Seattle. Josh initiates into the bank. Nice job by Josh. Solid angle there. Could definitely be higher. Big splash off that back right. Flicks it heavily into that second outside zone. And Josh brings it into the final outside zone right there on the line. Absolutely where you need to be. Reynolds brings it across, number 33. And taps that cone for good measure. A solid qualifying run in the wet for Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, these boys looking pretty good here in terms of their comfort in these kind of conditions. And we love to hear drivers really using the throttle and feeling like they're comfortable in their vehicle and having that displayed to us. Let's take a look here at Reynolds. Last driver, trying to get above a 75. Snaps over to the middle. Pretty good initiation here. Tries to keep that front end stable as he navigates through that first outside zone. Stays up there almost all the way, but could have filled it a little bit better. Big angle coming through the center section. Huge angle there. Slows down a little bit, but actually, man, he made that look pretty good overall. And, the wet may have actually helped him there in that situation. And then on this final outside zone, he's just going to get that rear wheel a little bit too far on that outside zone. He corrects, though, makes that adjustment, punts that out the outside marker for good measure, but no deduction there. And let's see if he gets above a 75 to avoid that bottom 8.
Getting a little artsy here with the Water drops on the lens, and it is obviously very wet if you're just tuning in. Round 4 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. I'm Jared Gienda, Ryan Sage by my side calling the action and hoping for great weather tomorrow. Boom, there you go. Josh Reynolds with an 87. An 87, so no problem for him. So what does that mean? Well, there are only 8 drivers that are going to run for their second run in a moment. That's what we want it to look like tomorrow. We're talking dry weather, baby. I'm just kidding. That's not dry right there. So Adam LZ is your #1 qualifier unofficially, and with 31 drivers going in, guess what? The Fast Pass. Man, that is awesome. Congratulations, Adam LZ moves automatically into the top 16. You see Osbo, Essa, Field, Hughes, Bakshis, Meyer, Jones, Toguchi, and Robbins rounding out top 10. Let's move on to 11 through 20. Oh, look at that. Reynolds, Carney,
Wow.
Hurst, Sorensen,
Look at some of these names.
Charpentier, Gittin, Turk. They are in. Now, when we move on to our next slide, 24 to 31. So Naren's in, Masayama, Yoshihara, but Mohan, Olsen, Burkett, Forsberg, Reeder, Gucci, and Beecham will have to compete, right? Am I correct in saying?
Maybe Yoshihara as well.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, actually Yoshihara, again, unofficially there. So 23, yeah, that's correct. 23 through, so
2 buys.
But wait, I thought we had 31 drivers. We're missing a driver there. Again, that's why we always say unofficially. We'll take a short break, but take a look at this. This is Adam LZ's big score of a 94. Good angle from him as he will advance on from today all the way into the top 16. When we come back, our final 8 knockout, run 2 from our bottom 8 drivers.
Your body is a machine with 800 horses coursing through its veins. Ignite it. NOS Energy, human horsepower.
I'm Dylan Hughes, Formula Drift Pro driver, and today we're going to talk about Royal Purple HPS and what actually goes into it. There's a lot of talk about additives, and Royal Purple has its proprietary Centerlick technology. It is fortified with a high level of zinc phosphorus anti-wear additive for exceptional protection against heat and wear. Its high film strength improves sealing between the piston ring and cylinder wall for maximum horsepower and torque. Royal Purple HPS, race car technology for the street.
Link ECU produces standalone engine management technology with a range of products that allow you to unleash the power of your engine. Acting as your car's brain, Link ECUs control electronic fuel injection and ignition. A magnitude of sensor inputs and outputs ensure your engine exceeds your expectations. Built-in safety features guarantee engine protection, and data logs keep you informed on its performance. Smoke your tires, not your engine, with a world-leading Link ECU.
believers all screaming. Need something fast to outrun the demons. Nothing come between the boy and his freedom. What good are rights when y'all don't even read them? The legend never die, you get reborn.
It's mostly for these guys because otherwise we won't have graphics.
All right, we are back as we are seeing the rain continue to fall here. So just to clarify, it is 30 drivers. 30 drivers that eventually did have their first run because Justin Pollock was a no-show, Federico Sharifo was not here, Ryan Little was not here. So 30 drivers. 30 drivers, as you can see, Larry Chen and the gang. See our starters here. All right, so. And we are seeing the rain come down, and we will tabulate who is in our bottom 8. Again, I always like to say unofficially, just to make sure that we calculate all the right numbers. As I said, initially, Michael Essa was in the 70s, and then after just some some tech issues, he received a 90. So it should be dialing in the names.
So Jared, who we've got here coming in with our bottom 8 is Chris Forsberg and Travis Reeder. That's the incomplete. Simon Olsen, Daijiro Yoshihara, Dan Burkett, Kenshiro Gushi, Trenton Beecham, and Kyle Mohan.
All right, so when we come back, we will see our less than grade 8 on their second run to see where they land. Now remember, the drivers with a score will automatically be in, but just bears repeating, if Chris Forsberg, Travis Reeder, Kenshiro Gushi, and Trenton Beecham, those 4 drivers are do or die, and the other drivers will be seeing competition, but again, those the drivers with the incompletes need to put down a score. When we come back, we'll see our less than grade 8 here on this very wet track.
Made in Japan. Breed.
What's up, everyone? We're pumped to announce Ford's Drift to Dirt Sweepstakes, where you can win your choice of a newly redesigned 2021 F-150 Raptor featuring Fox shocks with live valve technology, 5-link rear suspension, and Recaro seats.
Or you can win a 2021 Ford Mustang GT convertible, which you can shred the tires with 460 horsepower and 6 styling.
All you have to do is head to drifttodirt.com and enter to win.
Welcome back. The Men's Journal Knockout qualifying, the final 8 knockout, aka as I've deemed it, the less than great 8.
And it gets more juicy here, Jared, because we're learning that before we left break, Trenton Beecham said he was not going to run his first lap. Right. He's going to go to the bottom 8. We also found out that he didn't run any runs in practice, and so he's asking our competition staff, if I didn't run any runs in the official practice leading up to this, does that mean I can change my car? So he must have something that is really devastating with his vehicle if he's asking the competition staff whether or not he can change his vehicle at this point.
I could have sworn I saw him running on practice. We were talking about him shredding his bumpers off during practice.
It was in the first practice, right? So he's asking if that's an official practice, and if I turned a wheel, then am I not allowed to, change cars?
But wouldn't you associate paid practice, not game day? I mean, this is game day qualifying, not FD game day, right? But I would say unofficial practice would be yesterday, not today.
But no practice yesterday.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So that's regardless. We're delving into that. So Trenton Beecham would be later in this, but we do kick things off with Chris Forsberg. He would be our first qualifying driver. But the question is, where would Beecham land? He would have an incomplete. He's asking if he can drive a backup car or somebody else's vehicle, and that's where things get interesting. So, yeah. So right now the judges are talking. Beecham is to drive the Mustang. He forewent his first qualifying run, puts him now in the less than great 8. The Mustang is the vehicle of choice that he needs to compete in. That's the bottom line. He's sitting in the vehicle. We're up here in the booth. We're getting murmurs of this, getting some absolute finite details, and That's Beecham's going to drive the Mustang.
It's what happens when you have a kind of an open door policy with competitors about, what happens if I do this in competition and what can I do that in competition? And, our competition director will take all those questions and field them and interpret them. But that's kind of what I can see happening here is that he's trying to salvage his event here at all. So we'll find out what happens, but we'll see Chris Forsberg as our first driver up in the bottom 8.
All right, here's our United States Air Force trivia. What is the fastest jet? F-16, F-22, F-35, F-15. What is the fastest fighter jet in the United States Air Force? Fastest jet. Go ahead and slide into the description of the YouTube stream, and you click that and answer it. What's the fastest jet in the United States Air Force? Brian Egger, what do you say? F-16, F-22, F-35, or F-15? Go ahead and answer yourself in the description on the YouTube live stream. Our first driver is to be Chris Forsberg. Right now he's at a Chris Threesberg. We need you at a Chris Forsberg on the line, buddy. Let's see where you're at. Ryan, I know Chris has been struggling. He's been having some throttle body issues. He's doing drive-by wire versus cable, so that's where a lot of the issues. The throttle body keeps closing. He's having some issues, and I know that adds to a lot of his issues. He's got the horsepower. He's got the power plant. I know he had transmission issues in New Jersey. The flywheel, they go to knock up transmission, just pretty much falls right off.
Yeah, if you're a super fan, and I learned a lot more about this in depth when we had an opportunity to work with Chris on a featurette during COVID about his entire history in the sport, and it's really interesting. The years where we've seen Chris finish outside the top 5 have all been years where they've been developmental or he's had problems with the vehicle. Mm-hmm. When his car is running properly, he tends to be a guy that finishes in the top 3 every time. Yeah. And there's very few years where that has not happened.
He won a championship by not winning an event.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, consistency is key, and we learned that prior to Forsberg with Tanner Faust, and obviously he had great success, but consistency is key.
Absolutely, and you just got to have that reliability and dependability, and hopefully they work out the gremlins. But this is the second event in a row that we've seen him in the bottom 8. Now, it actually worked out fine for him. However, it was a much harder path. He had to take out JTP in the top 32, right? He was going to be facing all the top qualifiers. Not an easy task by any means.
Here we go. Forsberg for a second run. Do or die. He needs to put a score on the board. Otherwise, he'll be watching from the sidelines. And as NOS entering Nissan 370Z, the 3-time champ, applying the pressure. Good angle from him. And it comes down now. We wonder what happened. What did they get the car back together? Are they running 100% as Chris crawls into that second outside zone? Doesn't seem like the Forsberg that we've seen of championship form, but right now just needs to gather some nuts and berries and take this thing all the way home. And now bring it across the finish line. I'm talking about scavenging is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
there,
I think he did collect a good amount of nuts and berries on that one. That was a good one. He did a lot of good hunter-gathering there.
Thank you.
But, I think the important thing here is that it's not about getting the highest score in this particular part of competition. It really is about not getting an incomplete, right? Not getting an incomplete is the most important thing. And then really, because the positioning is so limited, if it makes sense for you to go for the highest score because you already know what your competitor is going to be on the other side of the bracket, that's a really fascinating thing about this, is all these guys already know where the rest of the bracket is. Right. So there is some strategy that could be at play there. Maybe they really want to go in the 23rd position or something like that. But for the most part, I think the most important thing is just not getting incomplete, getting into tomorrow's competition. I think the run overall from Chris is going to be great. He's going to get a good score, and all that matters is that he got through without any gremlins and didn't get that incomplete.
So again, Ryan, just repeating it, the less than grade 8, all our 8 drivers that are now to compete, some of them have scores, some of them don't. The best they could get out of these drivers is 23rd through 30. Right. Now that means we do have 2 buys. Right. Just getting that clarification. So our number 2 qualifier, which I believe was Frederick Osbo, LZ and Osbo. So again, LZ and number 1, Frederick Osbo, our number 2 qualifier. They will have a fast pass into the top 16. So going from wet conditions to everybody cross your fingers, cross your toes, and hopefully see some dry conditions tomorrow. Travis Reeder on the line. So where will Chris Forsberg land? as Travis Reeder is on the line, the Link Engine Management BMW. So it's an 82. That's an 82 for Chris Forsberg. So 82 for CF. That is Chris Forsberg. All right. Travis Reeder on the start line. The Type S Touring Products lights underneath. Lighten it up. Old red. Travis Reeder, the Walmart greeter. Look out for falling prices. Here we go. Travis Reeder warming them up, steaming them buns with that water and those GT radials. Now in, good job into that first outside zone. Drops down a little bit too early there from Reeder. Remember, this is where he splashed and went to that second outside zone. Whew, little timid there, but not at all. Right in the middle of that outside zone. Let's see. He didn't get to this point. I think he's playing it safe here, Ryan. Bit nervous here in the wet. And Travis gets a full pull. So Travis Reeder putting some smiles on faces here. You can see even his car is smiling and screaming.
Yep. Looking to beat an 82 if he's trying to get above Chris Forsberg to get in that 23rd spot. Travis Reeder getting that e-brake initiation, now getting into that outside zone, trying to push as high as he possibly can and stay settled here as he drops down from that outside zone and into this second outside zone. Let's watch those rear wheels as he tries to get deep. He goes middle line there. As we transition into this final section here, here's outside zone 2. And here's that final outside zone. Tries to get into it, but doesn't stay or get as early as he needs to into that outside zone, and then starts to fill it there towards the end. So 82 is the marker for him for the bottom 8. Let's see where he slots in.
All right. Travis Reeder awaits, as we said, that 82 from Chris Forsberg. 23rd, can't get any better than that. 23 through 30, those are the spots we're filling. And scores are in for Reeder, an 84, so he does better it. So Reeder with an 84. 6 more drivers left. And basically pretty nervous there for that of Kenshiro Gushi and Trenton Beecham. But Simon Olsen does have a score. Simon Olsen had a score in his first one of 75. So we do take the better of the two if you do have a score on your first run. So little sigh of relief there, but I'm sure he wants to better and get familiar with the course as Simon Olsen initiates. Looks a lot more comfortable here, Ryan. You can see him working it higher. Makes his way off of that first outside zone and now into the second. You can see how much water is actually accumulating there, just firing off. Throwing a roost off this Norwegian Toyota Supra. Yep, 2 Norwegians, 2 Supras walk into a bar, and here they are. As Simon Olsen brings it across the finish line. Nice job there from Simon. Great looking car.
Not exactly sure, you know,
what do you think?
Whether Simon's attitude towards driving in the rain is a positive one or a negative one, but I think this second run here definitely, in my mind, was more consistent than the first in areas where, you know, he was having trouble maybe the first time around. It seems much more locked in this time.
Yeah.
And even though he comes off a little bit early in outside zone, as he pushes into this second outside zone, completes it much better and is able to get through with there with a lot of fluidity. I like the approach here. Does not have an incomplete. We'll get a score here, and now it's just going to be about positioning here in the bottom 8.
All right, and Dai Oshihara, turn 14 distribution. Falcon tires, Subaru BRZ.
And he did have an incomplete, correct?
Simon, no, he had a score.
No, Dai.
Dai Oshihara, no, he had a 76. No, yeah, he had a 76.
Okay, 76. So he's fine.
He's fine. Yeah. So Olsen with an 85. So he lands in between. So Reeder currently has that number 23. If it would end right now, Simon Olsen would be just below him, and then Chris Forsberg with that 82. So again, oh no, excuse me, Simon. gosh. I'm
What
blacking out here.
What happened?
Simon Olsen, 85, 84, 82. So Simon would take the lead. Here we go with Dai Yoshihara. Turn 14 distribution, Subaru BRZ.
And just give me a reminder that on your page over there, the drivers that have it incomplete remaining.
Kenshiro Gushi and Trenton Beecham.
All right.
Dai Yoshihara does have a score, as you just said, Ryan. But he would like to, again,
there's that
just
front
get
end
familiar
again.
with it. Yeah, just washing out when he goes to throw it in. Shoots down that bank. And just as towards the tail end there, too little too late. Now into that second outside zone. Really dancing with the edge of that track all the way outside of it. When you take that shallower line, we saw that from Taylor Hull, when you hang on to that second outside zone, there's a large puddle right there that could really hurt you. You see the car, the attitude of the car really get disrupted, but did not affect Dai Yoshihara.
Yeah.
That was good. That was a good run. Outside of that first outside zone, but you got to think that middle section is where a majority of the points are.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine what might be the problem there if he's just tentative and doesn't want to fully commit to this section of the course. But it's the second time the front end is kind of washed out like that. This time it was not as apparent, but you could kind of see just that tendency developing. Here, much better on that outside zone, super high. Now, this is where he had some trouble the last time around. Remember, he got caught up here. This time, threw it much more fluidly and seemed like he had a lot more confidence. I love the way he kind of like sprayed across that transition from 2 to 3. And even though he does come off the zone for half a beat there, look how he fills the last section. Overall, solid run for Daijiro Yoshihara.
Yeah, it seemed like on that first outside zone, really released and just got sprayed all over. Talking about the BRZ. All right. And here we are. And we can see Dan Burkett. Dan Burkett on the start line, Rad Industries Gear Wrench Toyota Supra. And after we get the score from Dai Yoshihara, we're halfway through the not so great 8. And it looks like he receives is that a 79? A 79 for Dai Yoshihara. Dai Yoshihara receives a 79. And we are going back to Dan Burkett, who's already on the start line, the Rad Industries Gear Wrench Toyota Supra. And if you recall, Dan Burkett did get a score as a 74. So he will automatically have a spot. But of course, with that 74, he would be all the way down at the bottom in 30th. So wants to definitely better that. As Dan Burkett initiates into the bank. Looking a lot more aggressive here, Ryan, and more fluid, consistently on that line. Not all the way up the wall, but I think it's smart to just pedal it safely. Killing me softly. A little Lauryn Hill action here in that last and final outside zone. Right on the line. Keeping it rad. Party out back. And it's a pool party. Oh, splashes. Slip and slide, take it to the house. Dan Burkett.
Yeah, something tells me that Dan is completely does not have nerves at all on this track. The first time around, he was super aggressive. He made some big mistakes. This time around, even though he has a low score, he still comes back hard on the second run.
Yeah.
I just love it. I love seeing that. I love seeing when drivers push the pace, even when they don't necessarily have to. You know, he's not sitting on an incomplete. And he's able to fill this second outside zone much better this time around.
Right.
But he's still driving aggressively, right? You can really hear him banging off the rev limiter, throttling in areas where you want him to throttle, slowing down where he needs to, but still putting on a great show here in the wet, and just seems completely resistant to nerves altogether.
I like it. Well, good observation there, Ryan. Okay, so this was a driver that...
This is our mystery man.
Yeah, got interesting there as Trenton Beecham tried to switch vehicles, but he was in his vehicle, and that's the vehicle he is going to run. So that Clonex Nexon Tires Ford Mustang of Trenton Beecham.
And I have no inside information. Do you have any inside information?
Just outside of, he was in the vehicle. He says, "Well, can I switch? Because I didn't actually take that practice, but that was basically he was in that car.
You didn't hear anything like earlier on in the day or anything like that?
No, didn't hear anything in regards to what actually transpired. But so in 87, so he jumps to the top of the pack of the not so great 8. So again, the best he could do would be 23rd. Look at that, the high in the sky. That's a sign of a good time, because with the drone in the sky, that means no rain's coming down. So that's what's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent.
Not precious. All right, here we go. The Clonex Necks and Tires Ford Mustang. And remember, we still all right, we were supposed to see Ken Gushi up next.
And this may just be a slight mix-up in competition, unless there's a competition timeout that we're not aware of.
Yeah,
which is a possibility.
Yeah, it should actually be. Yeah,
it should be Gushi,
right? Be Gushi, Beecham, then Mohan to wrap up the not so great 8. I really don't think it affects too much.
And no competition timeout?
No competition timeout. I think just eagerness for the sake of expediting. Judges are ready, Beecham. So, truth be told, we did go out of order here. I don't think it'll affect the outcome. But here we go with Beecham and the Clonex Necks and Tires Ford Mustang. Here we go, Beecham from Southern California, from Agora Hills. All right, he initiates. You can see him still, you know, having some angle, obviously not as high.
Avoid the incomplete.
Yep, avoid the incomplete, get it together, work on the vehicle overnight, get it back together for head-to-head competition. And that's a hard act to follow. And I'm talking about, is that a chaseable run, Ryan? We're gonna have to, and just as we saw that drone go up, I am seeing a lot of rain fall now.
Well, we saw, you know, a number of occasions in New Jersey in the wet conditions where, you know, a multitude of mistakes was the phraseology that was used, can be awarded incomplete. And that has been something that the judges have used over a number of events. It's always challenging to know what kind of multitude constitutes an incomplete. In qualifying, though, it's much easier because all they need to say is that a chaseable lead? And so this little section right here, I think, is the area that they're going to focus on.
Yeah.
And it being a chaseable lead. When it applies to a chase driver, I think it's much more difficult because you can't use the chaseable lead thing. Then you have to rely on the multitude of mistakes. And for me, that's a little bit more challenging to interpret. But the unchaseable lead is pretty easy, and it does look like that's going to be confirmed. And is it as confirmed as an unchaseable lead?
Oh, unfortunate.
And a straightening. Okay.
So for Beecham, that will be a wrap for him this weekend. Absolutely gutted. I'm sorry, Trenton, but unfortunately your weekend is over for the Ford Mustang of Trenton Beecham. So that will be an incomplete on his first run, or a no-show, a DNS. Did not start, and then now an incomplete here on his second. And here we go. Ken Gushi, the Gretty.
Wow, that's
Toyota Racing.
3 buys.
Yeah, that's going to be 3 buys for sure. Here we go. Ken Gushi initiates on that first outside zone, looking a lot stronger there, Ryan, flexing some muscle. And now coming that second outside zone. Just wondering what is going on. It's just been little things like an oil line or a pressure line coming off, steering. I'm just oddball things.
60-cent part ruin your weekend.
Absolutely. Here we go, but Ken Gushi keeps it together like Beastie Boys keep it together. Here we go.
He's got it.
Looks like Gushi will have it, but that got sketchy coming off that first outside zone coming into the flat.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same kind of approach, I think, or what from our perspective, with Chris, right, is, you know, we've seen the car power down because of these fuel pump problems and the electrical problems, and we've seen a couple similar things like that with Ken Gushi. This time around, it does not bite him. He's going to get through. Had a little bit of a close move right there coming down off, but I think he was able to manage that pretty well overall. Got into that second outside zone. I think this will be a massive sigh of relief for him. And now him and his team can work on the car, feel confident in tomorrow, going into tomorrow's practice, where they'll have enough opportunity in the dry conditions to make the best of the weekend. But unfortunately, he does sit in that bottom 8, so he may have some stiff competition earlier on in the top 32.
All right, what will be our final competitor in the not-so-great 8, Kyle Mohan, does have a score. So out of all our incompletes, and I guess I should clarify here, I want to make sure that Ken Gushi does tabulate a score, and we'll see him in head-to-head competition. Here's the KMR, Kyle Mohan Racing, Mazda Tricks, Renewable Lubricants, excuse me, Federal Tires, Mazda RX-8, Long Beach, California. Ken Gushi, Kenshiro Gushi, with a score that is an 82 for the OG, original Gushi, Ken Gushi. All right, our final driver, Kyle Mohan, for our qualifying. All thriller, no filler here with just Pro here this weekend. Pro Spec takes a hiatus. And here we go, our final driver of qualifying here at round 4, the Formula Drift Pro Championship, Kyle the Menace Mohan. Again, Mohan does have a score. He has a 76 on his first score. Where's he going to land? Mohan looking a lot more aggressive here. A lot more comfortable. Look at this, Mohan. Here's the menace that we know. Into that second outside zone, right in the line. Punts that last cone out of the way. Says, move, cone, get out the way. Down to that final outside zone. Kyle Mohan really surging here towards that finish line. Came off it a little bit, but man, seemed like that was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Mohan.
Yeah, that was a complete turnaround there for Kyle. A very impressive run here in run number 2. A lot of confidence exuding from him as well on this run. You could just kind of see it in the driving, locked into some of those areas in ways that we did not see in the first run, and that's certainly going to pay off in terms of the score. It may not give him the positioning that he's looking for, but it may also be, you know, something that works out in his favor depending on how things play out here. It does, as you mentioned, Jared, now with Trenton Beecham going out, we will have those 3 buys. But as we take a look at some of the solid drifting here from Kyle Mohan, you can see much more settled. Very few of those big mistakes, and also very few of the little flubs. He had one little one going into that outside zone 3. But he has that right rear tire on that outside zone for a good chunk of it. Then he goes to the middle section and he finishes up really strong. So congratulations to Kyle Mohan. Great performance here as our final run of the evening.
All right, let's see where Kyle Mohan lands, but we will have now, with Trenton Beecham being knocked out, Ryan, that's 29 drivers. That's 3 bye runs. So 29 drivers, our number 1, number 2, and our number 3 qualifying drivers will have a bye run in 16.
And that's going to be LZ, Osbo, and Michael Essa.
Wow.
And those are 3 drivers, with the exception of Osbo, that we have not seen that historically in this year's competition. So LZ getting a bye is a great opportunity for him. Michael Essa getting a bye is a great opportunity for him. And it's dangerous for the rest of the field.
There's a score real quick. Kyle Mohan with an 83, so he obviously does better his first score.
Yeah, and just, you know, to finish up that last little thought, seeing those 3 buys gives those 3 drivers quite a bit of an advantage moving right into the top 16. Just gives them one leg up on the competition. They can kind of rest, and they don't have to worry about going all out in the top 32. But that is our field as of tomorrow.
Unfortunate turn of events there, most recently for Trenton Beecham. Of course, that of Justin Pollock. Popped his engine. Hopefully, see him at round 5 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. But 29 vehicles. Everybody, cross your fingers, cross your toes, cross everything, because we want to see dry weather. We want to see an ideal condition here at Lake Erie Speedway. Ryan, anything in closing?
No, yeah, I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. Looking forward to the dry weather. It was great that we could get qualifying done here tonight. We didn't have any of the issues that we experienced in New Jersey, but now we're looking to the future. We're going to find out who is going to stay on top of the championship leaderboard. But the unofficial look of the leaderboard, let's give a little look at it now to see what some of our lineups are going to be. Of course, the official will be posted on our website as soon as all the scores are double-checked. Obviously, Trenton Beecham has scratched, so he's not out. But we do have the buys right there. Adam LZ, Frederick Osbo, and Michael Essa was with a buy. And look, see, again, Forsberg with that going out. Now he's going to have to face potentially the number one in points if this turns out all to be correct. But that is it, the unofficial bracket as we close things down here at Lake Erie Speedway at round 4.
Big meat hooks. And as we close things out, this is Adam LZ. All the LZ fans cheering him on from around the globe, in front of the computer screens, or here in the bleachers. So Adam LZ, your #1 qualifier in that LZ BC Racing S15. Great looking car, great looking run in the wet, puts it together and comes out on top. So on behalf of Ryan Sage and our whole team, thank you so much. Congratulations, and brand new venue, excited. Let's pray for some dry conditions tomorrow. And there's Frederick Osbo, your #2 qualifier in that Rockstar Energy Drink Toyota Supra. We'll see you guys tomorrow. So there again tomorrow, there you see Osbo. He will get the fast pass in the top 16. From Lake Erie Speedway, round 4, the Formula Drift Pro Championship. We've deemed this Borderlands. My name is Jared Dienda. We'll see you online, and we'll see you another time. Send it. Hurt him, but still, I mean, still good line, still aggressive.
800 horses coursing through its veins. Ignited. NOS Energy, human horsepower.
I'm Dylan Hughes, Formula Drift Pro driver, and today we're going to talk about Royal Purple HPS and what actually goes into it. There's a lot of talk about additives, and Royal Purple has its proprietary Centerlick technology. It is fortified with a high level of zinc phosphorus anti-wear additive for exceptional protection against heat and wear. Its high film strength improves sealing between the piston ring and cylinder wall for maximum horsepower and torque. Royal Purple HPS, race car technology for the street.
Yo, Chelsea, the coloring on our NGK spark plugs looks incredible for handling 1,200 horsepower.
Yeah, I know. I've been telling you for years. I've been running NGK plugs, and they're awesome. Did you know that NTK is part of the NGK family? And they make all sorts of sensors like O2 sensors, temperature, pressure, position, and ignition coils.
I did not know that, but maybe we can talk them into making proximity sensors to help you with your bumper budget.
Now available at Advanced Auto Parts and CarQuest Auto Parts stores.